Here's our video on adding and subtracting rational numbers, right? And we have the Q sign for rational numbers, and we know rational numbers are fractions, decimals, and they're integers. And we use the Z for integers. What's going on with this 7? That's not a... Let's fix that 7. 7th grade, right? Strange 7 we got. Looks like a claw. Okay, so let's look at an example. And of course, we would do this the same way we would do the integers. So here we have -5. We can say we owe $5. And then someone is going to give us 2/3 of a dollar. Right? Roughly 66 cents, but that's not important. So it's the same concept here. Let's look at it the old-fashioned way first. So I can say -5 plus 2/3. And we can do it like that. Now here's a common mistake. You just can't bring that 5 down. You can't just say it's -5 and 2/3. No. Remember, you owe $5 and someone's given you 2/3. So what we have to do here is we're going to borrow from the 5. Seems strange. And that's going to be a -4. Now the fraction is going to be whatever the denominator says here. So that's a 3. So we're borrowing 3/3. Why 3/3? Because 3/3 is 1. That's what we borrowed. We borrowed one number. And this would be a -4 and 1/3. Now it's very important to know that when you're doing, we'll do a few more examples of these. The whole number is negative, so the fraction has to be negative also. Now if we didn't do it that way, if we just brought the 5 down, the 5 would be negative, but the 2/3 was positive, and you can never have that. So remember this rule. In a fraction, if the whole number is negative, the fraction's negative. So if you ever see a -4 and 1/3, that's negative and the fraction's negative. And vice versa now. If the whole number is positive, the fraction has to be positive. So let me give you another example on that. Let's say I had, we'll say 6 1/5. Let's get a better marker. Let's fix that. 6 1/5. And then we're going to add it. Let's bring that over. Say we're going to add it to 1 2/3. -1 2/3. Okay. So look for the common denominator. We know it's 15. 5 goes into 15 3 times. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 goes into 15 5 times, and 5 times 2 is 10. Okay. So now, if I did 6 plus -1, that would be 5, right? Because you have $6, but you owe 1. So this is a positive whole number. But if we did 3 plus -10, remember it's negative because if the whole number is negative, the fraction is negative. If we did 3 plus -10, we would get a -7. We don't want this, because remember the rule. If the whole number is positive, the fraction has to be positive. So this can't be. This is not right. Let's fix it. Okay, I'll leave that there. We'll go back to it. So let's write this over. 6 1/5 plus -1 1/3. 2/3. 2/3. Right. 2/3. So let's do the same thing. We got the common denominator, 15. 5 goes into 15 3 times. It's 3 there. And 3 goes into 15 5 times, and there's 10. So now, again, before we do adding here, we need to make sure that this top number here is bigger than 10. So we're going to borrow from the 6. That becomes a 5 now. And we borrowed a whole number. What did we borrow? Always look at the denominator. We borrowed 15ths. So we borrowed 15 15ths. That's what we borrowed, because that's one number. So now instead of being 3 15ths, it's 18 15ths, because 3 15ths plus 15 15ths is 18 15ths. So we borrowed, that's our new number. Now everything should be the same. 5 plus -1 gives us 4. You have $5, you owe 1, you got 4. And 18 plus a -10, remember it's negative, will give us 8. So now we have the whole number is positive and the fraction is positive. So this is the correct answer, not this. Again, this was wrong because the whole number is positive, but the fraction is negative. You can't have that, and vice versa. So go over that. You should rewind the tape if you didn't understand how we did that. Okay. Let's go over another. What if I had, say, 1 2/5 plus 2 3/8? Okay, everything's positive here. We don't have to worry about negatives. Now, what you could do to make this easier, I'm going to show you some shortcuts. What's 1 plus 2? 3. So there's your 3 already. And then you can add 2/5 plus 3/8. And the fast way to do this, fix that, you can multiply 5 times 8 and you're going to get 40. And then you're going to cross multiply. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 5 times 3 is 15. And you add those two together. What do you get? And that'll be 31/40. And don't forget the 3 that you started with. So let's do that again. So here was 1 2/5 plus 2 3/8. So what I did is I took the whole numbers, 1 plus 2, and there's my 3. Then I took the 2/5 plus 3/8, multiplied the denominators, and you get 40, and then cross multiply. Make sure you do, when you 8 times 2, you're doing 8 times 2, so that 16 should go there, and 5 times 3, and the 15 should go there. And our final answer, we'll bring it up here, we have the 3 that we started with, and the 31/40. So that's a fast way to add that. Show me if you can do this one. Okay, so we took the whole numbers, and we're doing 1 plus 5, and we get 6. Then let's take the fractions. 9 times 3 is 27. And then cross multiply. Right, 9 times 2 is 18. And 3 times 1 is 3. So we get 21/27. Don't forget the whole number. 6 and 21/27. So we're going to multiply the denominators. That's the first thing we're going to do. We get a 15. Multiply the denominators. And then we're going to cross multiply. So you're going to do 5 times 2 and you get 10. And 3 times 1 is 3. And our final answer, 13/15. So that's just a shortcut. A lot of students like the shortcut. If you like the old way, you can do the old way too. Okay, so we just multiply the denominators. Don't forget, 8 times 4 is 32. So that's so far. Then cross multiply. 4 times 2 is 8. And 8 times 1 is 8. And we get 16/32, which we can also simplify. 16 goes into 16 once, and 16 goes into 32 twice, and we get half. And you probably would have seen that because, 2/8 is actually 1/4. So sometimes you can look at that. Now, they don't have to all be positive. Sometimes you'll have the negatives. That's why you'll do the same as we did with integers. So, again, we'll do the same thing, but just remember, this is a negative here. So 6 times 3 is 18, but we have a negative fraction here. So cross multiply, you get 6 times 2 is a negative 12. Don't forget that, because if it's negative, then they're all negative. And 3 times 5 is 15. So what do you think we have now? You owe 15, you owe $12, but you have 15. So you're left with $3. So it'll be 3/18, which you can simplify. 1/6. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 18 6 times. Alright, now there's a right way and a wrong way when we have mixed numbers. So remember, there's a wrong way and a right way. We'll do the wrong way first to show you some mistakes. So let's say we had something like this. let's do the wrong way first. And the wrong way is the common error a lot of people do. And we can also do this two different ways, just like we did before. So here's what we have. We have a negative 3 2/3 plus 4 1/5. Put the line over it. Again, we're doing the wrong way. So this is what some people commonly do. So again, we have the common denominator is 15. Right? And 5 goes into 15 3 times. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 goes into 15 5 times, and 5 times 2 is 10. Now what we have here is we have this whole thing is negative. If the whole number is negative, the fraction is negative. So that's a negative 10, you see. And if the whole number is positive, the fraction is positive. Same thing. So that's a positive 3. So if you want to just put that negative there for a minute just to show you, if you do negative 3 plus 4, you're going to get a positive 1. But if you do negative 10 plus 3, you'll get a negative 7. And you can never have this. This can never be. Here's the most important rule. You can never have a positive whole number and a negative fraction in a mixed number, and vice versa. You can't have a negative whole number and a positive fraction. So you can't have this. This is the wrong way. Okay? You should rewind the tape if you didn't understand that. That's the wrong way. So let's do it the right way. Time to do it the right way. Okay, so in the right way, we want to make sure that the fraction and the whole number are the same. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to get the common denominator, right? And we got 10 up here. We got 3 up there. Now, okay, so now, if I did a negative 3 plus 4, we know we're going to get a positive 1. But we'll get a negative fraction. So what we need to do is make sure that this numerator is higher than the 10. So I'm going to borrow from the 4. That becomes a 3. And what did we borrow? We borrowed 15/15. Just look at the numerator. The denominator. The denominator says 15, so that's what we're borrowing. 15 over 15 is 1. So now we have 18/15. So negative 3 plus 3, that's a 0. That cancels out. And we're just left with 8/15. Okay, let's look at another way of doing it. We can do it like this. We can do the whole numbers first. A negative 3 plus 4 is 1. Right? And then we just do the fractions. Remember, that's negative. So we get negative 10 plus 3. And so we're going to get a negative 7/15. And remember, we can't have a 1 because it's positive and a negative 7/15. So we're going to borrow from the 1. And we borrow 15/15, which will give us the 8/15. So there's two ways you can do it. So let's try, see if you can do this one. It's subtraction. So the first thing you should do when you see subtraction, to make it easier, is make it keep, change, always change it to positive, to plus. And then this becomes a negative 1 2/3. So now they're both negative. So let's do the whole numbers. What's negative 6 plus negative 1? It's negative 7. Then we can do our fractions. And they're all negative. So you don't need to look for any common denominator. They have 3. So it's going to be 3. In this case, you don't have to do any of that. And negative 1 plus negative 2 is negative 3. So this would be negative 8.